Early random thoughts question moment. Excuse me, because I'm covering my naps up, right? So, listen. First off, heaven and hell, that's kind of a personal journey. They say that we go to hell for all types of reasons. They say that we in violation if we not married, we in violation if we don't do this, we in violation if we don't do that. But there's monks that don't do any of it, and they experience heaven. The problem is when the average individual read these spiritual books. When they read these books, the concept of heaven or the experience of heaven is in the physical reality. Now, I'm not into, again, said typical religions, but let's say this. If the average individual does not understand that there's a whole entire system that actually reaches a rainbow body, and we don't, then you only experience the concept of heaven on earth without the understanding that after earth there's everlasting life, right? This has nothing to do with the Bible. This happens in all systems for the most part. Alright. So, many years ago, I was doing some research on, the Buddhist side of reality and learned that there's a such thing as reaching a rainbow body. This is where Sky done went into shock at that point because I realized that we don't even die right. So, it's either, we pass away and we 6 feet in the dirt, we pass away and we get cremated, we pass away and we get put in, a mortuary or whatever you call it. And then there's a whole group of individuals that pass away consciously. They pass away consciously, and in that process, they barely deteriorate. And it brings you to this concept of the rainbow body. That's something I'm going to just let y'all look up. But anyway, this can happen in any culture. It just depends on, it can happen almost in any culture. It just depends on, how you understand it. Now, the thing that was interesting, most people in New York didn't even know this happened. But there was a woman who came all the way to New York that was a Buddhist that sat in a cathedral. Literally sat in a cathedral and consciously passed away and consciously shared her vibration with the whole New York. But New York didn't know it. There are Buddhists that circled whole entire states just to prove that. And I don't think it was to prove, but I think it was to help the vibration. Literally sat around a whole entire state to raise the vibration. In order for them to do that and it to be recorded, they had to sacrifice their rainbow body. This is real life. They had to sacrifice their rainbow body because that would be a form of showing off in their culture. So they had to sacrifice their rainbow body to a degree in order to circle around this particular state to raise the vibration of the majority in a particular state to prove that vibration is real. That mind is real. That's a sacrifice. And a valid one at that. And a deep one. Because in spirituality, in the higher realm, that's considered showing off. It's considered showing off. This is what people do not know. People do not understand. This happened without people even, most people do not look these things up, so therefore they did not know. That happened. Which means they literally had to sacrificed their rainbow body, and the universe had to forgive them for it in order for them to get their rainbow body because they did that. That's just how it goes. And this is in all systems, whether it's Christianity, Ifa, Santeria, Voodoo, Voodoo, Hoodoo. It doesn't matter. It's about reaching a particular level of consciousness. Now, most people will say, oh, your particular level of consciousness is displayed by your lifestyle. No. Because if you really want to get into the books, those who reach a particular level of consciousness, let's use Noah for example, because people are very familiar with the Bible. Let's use Noah. Noah sitting there kicking it, collecting to it everything to put in the ark. Most people are not going to say, oh, what is an ark? Is an ark just a resemblance of a boat, or does it represent other things? Outside of that, to it everything. Masculine and feminine. While everybody else was G-macking like it never happened, and they was partying and showing off. Mind you, I'm sure people was of the same faith, same ethnicity, same belief system. But they seem to not get the message. How did that happen? So, this is why it's this thing where we can't pass judgment. We can't do that. It's not allowed. It's not valid. There's people that go to church every day, people that go to the mosque all the time, people that go to these systems all the time. I'm even guilty of doing so. And you'll do everything opposing, whether you believe it or not. The real is, you're going to ask for forgiveness for your sin. The Catholic is going to go to the priest in a box and he say, I did this, I committed this sin, I did this sin, I did that sin. He's going to say that he forgave you. And you didn't converse with the universe about it. The universe is around you all day. You didn't converse with the universe. You went to him and he conversed with the universe. You didn't even validate whether he was valid enough to converse with the universe. Because when Holmes came out of the confession box, Holmes went and did what he wanted to do. You have no idea. Period. Not even being funny. This is the thing that makes spirituality and the physical reality very interesting to me. It's not the only thing that's interesting to me, but it's very interesting. You have people that read the Bible all the time. People that read the Quran all the time. People that read the books of Ifa all the time. I'm not perfect in any of these systems, but I have a decent understanding. I'm not a Buddhist, but I have a decent understanding. You know that you have an understanding when you are presented with the information and can comprehend it. That's how you know you have an understanding. Most people are going to say, oh, this rainbow body shenanigans is shenanigans. It's not shenanigans. When I saw the documentaries regarding the rainbow bodies, I was pissed off with myself. Not with everybody else, but with myself, because it let me know that we don't even pass away properly. We don't pass away consciously. These people pass away consciously, and we don't. That's dangerous. And that's scary for somebody to have to travel or to have practiced Buddhism and then travel to a particular state and sit in a cathedral and pass away consciously so that we can raise our frequency as a collective. Because that's what happened. As a collective, that's what happened. It's spooky scary. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Scared the living daylights out of me. I'm not even gonna lie. Now, I thought about it deeply meditated on it deeply, and asked why. Because people don't ask why. And I realized that even in that particular situation, it wasn't a showing off. It was literally, I'm passing away and I'm sacrificing my vibration to raise another vibration, to raise a collective group of vibrations. And crime and violence, it reduced in New York. Meanwhile, people in New York didn't even know Shorty was in the cathedral. Mind you, she's not Catholic, Christian, Buddhist. In a cathedral, though. It's because she had this as above, so below understanding. These understandings manifest in every system. In every system. In every system. Now, I was looking at a blog. I don't know if it's a blog or if it's whatever it is. Now, y'all know that there was a time, because I broke up with drill, no disrespect. There was a time that I liked to read on drill. So there was a drill rapper or somebody in that area that said they're spiritual snitching. I have consideration, so I'm going to think about that. And so I did. Is there spiritual snitching? I don't agree with spiritual snitching. That doesn't mean that it doesn't exist or that it doesn't happen. But it made me realize that they tapped into spirituality. They acknowledged it. They know that it exists. And so I'm happy with that. Literally. I'm happy with them understanding that there is a higher vibration. There's a vibration that you cannot see, smell, taste, or touch. So I'm content with that. Whether they want to call it spiritual snitching, spiritual whatever, I'm content with the fact. Why? Because in order for them to say, oh, they're spiritual snitching, you have to identify that they're spirit. You have to identify that there's things that you cannot see, smell, taste, or touch, and it exists. And so you acknowledge that. And so with that being said, it's not tampered with, but it's now your mind is open to it. And so now that your mind is open to it, you understand that there's physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual consequences and interactions that actually take place. So you have raised your vibration because you're able to state that you know that it exists. How far you're willing to travel into that is something different. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, I'm not the only one who read on drill. I'm not the only one who read on drill. I'm not the only one who read in general. The point is that you understand that your ancestors are valid and they don't go anywhere. The point is that you understand that no one can take your ancestors from you. The point is that your ancestors still speak, whether it's through you or through a third party. The only reason that your ancestors are going to speak to you through a third party is because you're not willing to raise your vibration so that your ancestors can tap in. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. People say they are in certain spiritual systems and they do not acknowledge or respect that concept, yet you're gonna pour liquor out to your ancestors. You gonna roll ancestors up and smoke them. It's the same thing. You acknowledge that energy exists subconsciously, whether you believe it or not. So it's a choice thing. It's a choice thing. You know, when we we put murals up of our ancestors, you acknowledge your ancestors. When we make songs about our ancestors, you acknowledge your ancestors. When we when we converse about our ancestors, you acknowledge your ancestors. That's how deep it is, how deep rooted it is into our subconscious mind, whether we like it or not. Is that a bad thing? It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Even, you know, people who deal with the Bible, people who deal with the Quran, people who deal with all these books, you can't say that you don't acknowledge your ancestors. That ancestor worship, what ancestor acknowledgement does not exist. You cannot say that, because if Christ was supposed to be physical and he's non-physical now because Christ has passed away, and you still represent Christ, then you acknowledge your ancestor, or you acknowledge a ancestor. The same thing. If you in the Quran and you say in the Quran, you read the Quran, Muhammad is valid, he was a human being, he passed away, moved on to another realm, but you still acknowledge him, then you acknowledge ancestor worship. It's ancestor. So therefore you can't say that you dismissed it. You can't say that it's dismissed. Now, in Buddhism, they may not put a name on it, and I haven't really dug into it that deep. They may not put a name on it, but they understand as above, so below. So they understand that vibration is everything. And so they understand that there's no such thing as death. And so they primary goal, one of their primary goals is to work on the concept of that it doesn't exist. So that when they are out the physical body, it can still exist. This information and these keys are in all of the books, is just how it's given, or how it's perceived, or how it is told so that it can be perceived. It's just that simple. So, with that being said, it's just something for us to think about. It's just simple things for us to think about. Meanwhile, I was watching a video game with my son last night. I was watching a video game, or a replay of a video game. And in this video game, the video game stated that one can have anything that they want. Anything that they want. This is a video game. Anything that they want as a sacrifice to their son. The thing that was interesting was, it said after. Right? So, I'm sitting there with my son and I'm saying, Junior, this is a trick that should not be. We don't fall for that. Why? Because after wasn't specific. When you dealing with particular energies and you making agreements with particular energies, and people tend to do this without even knowing, after could be 1.2 milliseconds after that agreement, which leads us to understand that in order to make these type of agreements, you have to have the information and the knowledge and understanding of how it works. It's a very interesting thing. There was a time that contracts and agreements was valid on the word of two men, two individuals. We agree and we stand on that. The watering down of the agreement comes later on, where the agreement becomes something on paper to make it valid. If you need the paper to make the agreement valid, then it means that two men or two women or whatever, two human beings cannot make an agreement and stand on it. That's it. I'm not saying that this is a fact, but this is how I see it. That's just simply how I see it. I'm not saying everybody else has to see it that way. That's simply how I see it. If I say that I agree to sell you a boat, I said that. And so I'm going to sell you that boat. If If we can't get that clear, if we cannot say that I'm going to sell you a boat and actually sell you a boat, and then it becomes I need a document that says that you said it, then that means that man is not trustworthy, and now we suspect as humanity, as a people, and that's a problem. That's simply a problem. A man is able to stand on their word, whether there's paperwork involved, whether there's a contract involved, whether there's an agreement involved, because he stands on what he speaks into the universe, knowing that there's consequences in the universe for not agreeing. This is just how I see things. I'm not saying that everybody else has to see things the same way. I'm just simply telling you that this is how I see things. So let's speak law. In all spiritual systems, there are primary laws that have to be followed. These primary laws, they get trumped by man's laws. Man's laws, this is facts. I've gone to the law library in real life. Ladders of books. But we can't get the 10 Commandments wrong. We can't get the basic, right. We can't get the basic laws and spiritual systems correct. So how are we going to get those? How are we going to get that right? This is what people don't think about. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, it's always strategic thinking when it comes to these things. You can offer me anything, and most people are going to accept said offer, especially when it's a discussion of physical wealth. Now, they say wealth is health. Maybe so. Maybe so. I might not dare to argue it, because in the physical plane, having all of this gives you access to a whole nother dimension. The power is the moment that you do not have access immediately to physical wealth. How do you raise your frequency so that you can still experience reality in the physical realm? It's the knowing that the paper does not have power. How in the hell can we give a piece of paper more power than us? That makes no sense. $1 is made from paper, from simple parchment paper. Now, most people say when you write on parchment paper, you doing witchcraft, you're doing this, you're doing that. Or on these different types of papers. So now it brings us to this point of, what is money printed on? I'm just saying. I'm not even being funny. What is money printed on? Excuse my liar. What is money printed on? We have power as humanity. In order for the piece of paper to have power, we have to give it. The best and greatest investment is in humanity and people. Period. Those of us who know it, the system is going to try to knock us all the way down so that we can't bring our own people up. There's this isolation. And I'm not mad at the isolation. I just don't totally agree with the isolation. But there's this isolation period. There's people, and the thing that's weird about it is about a reaction. You're a thousandaire. I'm a millionaire. I'm going to drag you through the dirt because you're a millionaire. No. You're a thousandaire. I'm a millionaire. you're going to ask me, how did I put my thousandaire-ish into millionaire-ish? Not drag the millionaire down. That doesn't make sense. But people don't think like that. Now, you know, I'm about to do a numerology report on this 14th Amendment Trump situation. Well, I've done the numerology report, but I'm going to show it. And in the numerology report, obviously the numbers don't lie. There's definitely an imbalance. I could not find the actual date where the 14th Amendment was adjusted. So I decided to just look at what was adjusted. Excuse me. And it was the 14th Amendment, 3rd section. And come to find out, that's where the imbalance is at. And I'm going to show you later on. People can say what they want about us. They can make us look any old kind of way. But it's literal people that's the problem. And they know how to manipulate the people. I want a Lambo. I want a mansion. I want nice clothes. I want jewelry. I want a nice car. I want all of these things. I want all of these things. But at the risk of what? The power is being able to obtain these things without having to risk everybody. That's power. That's when there's power involved. Outside of that, those who are in power, when they raise their frequency, they understand that energy should be free. They understand that food should be accessible to everybody. Clean water should be accessible to everybody. They understand that. People who want to have reign over groups of individuals are going to try to put a price on natural resources. You did not create a chicken. You did not create a duck. You did not create a cow. You did not create a blade of grass. You did not create water. You did not create air. You did not create fire. So how could you put a price on it? This is what people have to think. You did not create wood. You did not create diamonds. These are resources and things that was already on the planet. Fast forward in today's time, you got news talk about homes walking through with nukes, blowing up lands, wiping whole peoples out. Why? What does that mean? This is a control issue. So what I saw from that numerology is that this is a control over a group of individuals. And this fight has been going on for a very long time. The problem in this is that there are consequences every single time, whether they like it or not. And so that's what I'm going to show you in the numerology report. Until they understand that you don't do that, it's always going to be conflict. You just don't do it. 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 Like I said in a previous video, nukes is not allowed. Why? Because men will believe that they have it under full control, but the universe knows that they don't. It's that simple. This has nothing to do with color, because like I explained to you, there was a whole woman that came into a cathedral in New York, and she wasn't even black, that sat in a cathedral and consciously passed away to raise the frequency of humanity. The people that are trying to control, they're not willing to do that at all. Because they don't see the bigger picture. They don't. They got money. They have power. They have the ability. They have the ability to buy your concept, your thought, your spiritual belief, how you feel about reality, how you see reality. They have that power. And even in that, there's a weakness. Because the moment that you have to buy it, that you know that you're weak. The moment that you have to buy my belief, you're weak. The moment that you have to buy my way of seeing reality, you're weak. It's just that simple. And then when they can't buy it, then they try to destroy it, which proves who the weak is. And this is how come it always gets mixed up. Everybody that had money, and I'm just using general. Damn, my phone is not respecting y'all right now. And I'm just speaking general. And a common book that most people like to read, the Bible and Noah. Everybody had their money. They had their Jews. They had their riches. They had all of that. But Noah left. He built the whole ark and everybody laughed at homes. And then when they asked this guy flooded out, they was big mad, medium mad, and small mad. While he out here living his life, flying birds off his ark, trying to find new land. Think about that. Think about that. Now, when we, you know, we display that, and I'm even guilty of it. Don't get it twisted. I'm even guilty of it. We have to respect that. You can have all the physical wealth that you want. I can give you $1 billion today. You can spend it right here on the physical earth. When your ass pass away, your chakra system so motherfucking low that you can't even exist after that. In real life. So they flip the narrative and say, okay, your vibration is low because your house not big, because you don't have a Lamborghini, because you don't have billions of dollars, because you're not sitting up there. It don't work like that. Because a lot of us do it and it's not even conscious. It's not conscious. It's nothing wrong with self-improvement at all. Me, just because I'm bored, I'll throw a wig on. Just because I'm bored, I'll throw some makeup on. But it's conscious, and that's the difference. It's not manipulated. It's conscious. It's because, oh, I don't feel like combing my hair. I don't feel like doing this. I don't feel like doing that. I'm throw a wig on. It's not because I'm going to try to, I'm scared of my own circles or anything like that. It's conscious. I feel like covering up my raccoon eyes for the day. Period. It's conscious. There's a difference between consciously changing something and subconsciously. And unconsciously changing something. And a lot of us unconsciously make these changes. And then when your ass ain't on the earth no more and you can't vibrate above it, you no longer exist in real life. That's how you get rid of existence. Everlasting existence, right there in a nutshell. The universe does not care if you get breast implants. The universe don't care if you get ass implants. The universe don't care if you do your eyebrows. The universe don't care if you get a wig or any of that. People have to think. Everybody is so concerned with the hustle and bustle of the everyday life that they don't get the opportunity to raise their vibration to a higher frequency. But those in wealth, they're not concerned with everyday life. So after that, they have no other choice but to find a way to raise their frequency to a higher degree. And when they figured that out, they decided, oh, Everybody that figured out how to raise their frequency to a higher degree. So now what are we gonna do? People who have acquired these things, they've decided that, you know what, I got this, I got that, I got that, I got that. There's nothing else to do but to meditate and raise up the frequency and bring myself into a higher realm. So they said, okay, we're gonna attach it to the material things. Now you can't be happy unless you have $1 billion. You can't be happy unless you have a Lamborghini. You can't be happy unless you have a mansion. You can't be. How does that work? People have to think. On every scale, there's going to be a block or something put into place to try to block you from seeing reality the way that you want to, or the way that you're supposed to. People have to remember that even in their books, you can yell this, yell that, whatever spiritual book. It says you have dominion, but it never said you had dominion over men. And so when people come to that realization, they're going to understand that the higher realm, or the higher frequency is experienced regardless. Regardless. I cannot have $1. I'm still experience the higher frequency. Because I understand. And so now you understand. And so now I'm off this joint. Deuces. It is me, NBT Sky. Smooth. My phone don't like me.